Is that what I said?
Yes.
Fuck me running. Hello, welcome to So We're Watching That Right, a podcast where two lesbians bully each other for having the same taste in anime. I'm Becky, scientifically certified best girl.
And I'm Val, everyone's favorite harem protagonist.
The autumn season is starting with several bangs and a lot of whimpering. Most of our watching this week happened in a single delirious 5-hour block on Saturday, and we're going to try to average less than 3 minutes per show today because we've got a lot to get through, so this might be a bit incoherent, but here goes. Let's start with Dusk Beyond the End of the World, episodes 0 and 1.
Yeah, because it's listed as 12 episodes, but there was a prologue, which is being treated as episode, quote, 0. So on our stream, you were like, I'll probably watch this. And then you were like, I need to show this to Val.
Yes.
So we watched it.
For a very specific reason. And, like, I truly wasn't sure whether it was just going to be like just showing you the prologue thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to start by noting that this is the third season in the row where there has been a weird original anime that has been about some sort of time skip shenanigans. There was Apocalypse Hotel, then there was Turkey, and now there is this.
Apocalypse Hotel was a banger, but
Turkey was a banger.
Turkey I skipped out on because it was focused on sports. This one is back in my wheelhouse, I think, of like...
Yes.
This is...
absolutely bizarre sci-fi with some
question
weird
mark
relationship
rom-com
stuff. Like, the first episode is very rom-com. And, like, they are so careful to try to, like, make it not incest. Like, they are not biologically related, and they're not legally related, but they are family, and so I think they whiffed on that point to a degree. But the reason that we have to mention this is because there is a scene where Toasa, the sister, is, like, looking through photos of... what's his name? Akira. She's looking through, like, fairly recent family photos. Now he's, like, close to being grown up. And she's, like, chatting to her wristwatch AI about...
a birthday gift.
Yeah, their plans to give him a birthday gift, basically. And she switches the AI off, rolls onto her side, and there's a shot where she's very carefully kind of obscured from view. And then it cuts, and the next shot is her washing her hands.
Yep.
And when we next see her face is flushed. Which...
that's the moment it was like, oh, this is why Becky wanted me to see this show. It's a choice. Mm-hmm. It's not subtle.
It's a choice. It's not subtle. It is a sex is real moment.
Yeah.
Which is actually the thing that makes it interesting. And then there is this time skip where he gets nearly killed and wakes up in a broken restoration vat, like 200 or 2,000 years in the future, whatever it is. And we learn that for all that the future is hell in some ways, it maybe has, like, uniform polygamous queer marriages.
Yeah, it's...
unconfirmed. Like, I'm not clear that this is actually what it's going to be yet. I think they might pull a switch on this, but on the face of it, it does seem like both polygamy and queerness are normalized in this setting. Like, he watches 4 women apparently getting married.
Mm-hmm. Or LC'd, as the term is.
Well, that's why I'm a little bit sus on the whole thing until we get a clearer definition of that.
Mm-hmm.
But also the family that take him in at first are... two dads, 2 men and a woman.
Yeah.
And various kids.
Yeah, the pitch for the show is like, blah, 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 this happens. Along their journey, they encounter the evolving forms of love in this new era and reflect on what their bond truly means. I think it's going to go interesting places. I don't think it's going to be like, actually, no, monogamous marriage is the only answer.
Yeah.
It might just be one for the main character, which is, you know.
Yeah. I'm a little bit worried, actually, now we put it like that what it's going to do is be like, incest is no different from polygamy, and therefore if polygamy is okay, incest should be okay. That I think is the pitfall there.
Yeah.
And also we do have to deal with the fact that Toasa clearly was a fucking idiot politically, economically, independently of her personal choices, because in this prologue, she's a genius robot inventor, and there's a lot of political strife around robots, and she gets targeted by like the Pope, and a bunch of countries who are trying to like ban robots. And so her genius idea for making this fuss go away is, I'll make an AI that we can implant into humans, and then we'll implant every human with an AI, and then humans will see that AI is good. And, like, on some level, this is the Elon Musk incest anime, and that's a really bad burden to saddle it with.
I can't disagree, but I really wish I could, because I think it's not going to be...
I really wish I could, too. I'm not happy about this. I want to watch the show, and I want to like it.
Yeah.
But, let's move on to Past the Monster Meat, Milady, episode 1.
Yeah.
Which, this is much more straightforward. There's a girl, she likes eating monsters. Everybody thinks this is sick and weird. She meets a boy who is not put off by it because he just, like, really likes killing monsters. They fall in love. He has an aide called Chaos LaForgue.
Yeah.
It's wild. There's a scene where he's killed a monster, and so he's got spattered in blood, and he goes to wash, and she sees him topless. And you know how we use the word normal to mean not normal a lot on this show? She has an actually normal reaction to seeing a hot guy topless. She's like, "Oh, he's really pretty,"
and then covers her eyes like, "Oh, okay. Can you like that though?"
Yeah,
because she is still like a noble.
Yes, she's great, and they have really good chemistry. And the end of the episode is like him promising to bring her. Like, he asks her, like, what monsters grow in live in his lands, and he offers to bring her one. Live court, no less.
Mm-hmm.
She's still, like, he's ridden off. No, she...
They've parted, yeah.
And as they are parting, she's like, I'm sure he was just being courteous about that promise to bring me a monster that I wanted to eat, which he's definitely showing up on her doorstep next episode with a fucking giant unicorn goat in tow.
Yeah. Oh my god. It's gonna be really good.
Anyway, this show, you have to get through the title in 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, I'll do my best. So I'm the only one who is watching this. I don't know if I'm going to continue watching this, but I will probably not be talking about it any more than this, so I'm going to get through the title at least once. This is Backstabbed in a Backwater Dungeon. My trusted companions tried to kill me, but thanks to the gift of an unlimited gacha, I got level 9999 friends, and I'm out for revenge on my former party members and the world. Okay. So now that I've said that,
fucking grief.
They've shortened that to my gift level 9999 unlimited gacha, backstabbed in a backwater dungeon, I'm out for revenge, which is still a fucking mouthful, but it is not the this breaks character limits on PCs kind of mouthful that the original light novel title is.
Yes. I have listed it in our notes as unlimited title.
Which is very fair. So the main thing I want to talk about here is like the premise is, you know, laid out in the title, as light novel titles tend to do. It's real fucking edgy because it's going to be about the main character. He has this skill. It's garbage, but he has a skill which is rare among humans, and humans are like the weakest tribe of the sentient races. So there's a party that picks him up because they want to, quote, end racism, and they need to have a human in their party to like represent all the races. And then they take him to the most dangerous dungeon in the world, a few floors down, and just fucking go, okay, it's time for you to die.
What?
That would be fine, but like in the light novel and the manga, it is pretty much immediate that they're like, yeah, page 1, hey, you're leaving the party by way of me killing you. In the anime, that doesn't happen until like 8 minutes into the first episode, so you're waiting for like 8 minutes for this premise to drop the other shoe.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really uncomfortable how they decided to pace this out because it needed to be paced as an anime, where they wanted to end on him like starting to build up his empire, and then they're gonna come back to episode 2 and he's got like, it's been 3 years, he's got a whole bunch of girls and powerful allies and stuff in the bottom of this dungeon. It's just like really fascinating how they did this for an anime adaptation. They just like really stretched that opening and made it way worse because you have to sit through it instead of just like, oh, in occasional flashbacks it'll be like, oh yeah, they treated me well, but it turns out they all hate me and they're racist against humans and I'm gonna kill them all. this is not a show that is going to be, like, terribly interesting to talk about. So that's it for that.
Jolly good. Let's talk about May I Ask for One Final Thing, which released 2 episodes this week.
Yeah.
And I'm very glad it did, because holy shit, this show rules. Pass me my sicko shirt. We have to support women's wrongs.
Yeah, it's real fucking good.
It's just pure, like, catharsis and satisfaction. Every character you've ever hated in an anime, this is the anime where that character gets punched.
Yeah.
By a beautiful, like, dress-wearing princess.
Yeah, it really is funny that it was just like, okay, what kind of aristocrats does Becky hate the most in shows? Let's make a lightning lookalike beat the shit out of them.
Yeah, she is a lightning lookalike. Fuck, you're right. I hadn't fully passed that, but you're right. Specifically, it's lightning in the, like, fireworks show scene in Lightning Returns, which is one of the hottest lightnings. And as if that wasn't enough, also, partway through the first episode...
Second.
It's that in the second episode?
Yes.
Okay. She wakes up after fainting from overusing magic, and there is a cross-dressing maid assassin sat on top of her in bed about to stab her, who she punches through a wall and is taken into custody, and then turns out to be a were-dog.
Yep.
And then they also add to their squad, like, the non-asshole prince, and the princess's brother, who is secretly the head of, like, Royal Intelligence Services. And it is the greatest squad an anime has ever assembled. If there was any justice, this would be the next One Piece. And, like, Scarlet is incredibly powerful, but she is also the perfect kind of stupid.
Yep.
In the second episode, they go to, like, a rough neighborhood, and somebody scams Scarlet by selling her a rock, claiming that it's mithril. They get into a fight, and Scarlet, in unrelated anger, crushes the rock. And then, despite having already been told twice that she's been scammed on this rock, she's like, those people were lying to me. I must find the person who sold me this rock and buy another. This show is perfect. It's immaculate.
It's really fucking good. Speaking of another show I'm enjoying on my own, A Wild Last Boss appeared, which is a light novel adaptation where the main character gets isekai'd into the MMO character that he used to play. Basically, it's one of those hypothetical/fictional MMOs where the players have a lot of agency over how the world is built. You know, the ones that gamers really want. And basically the premise for the MMO situation was this one guy managed to unify the entire continent, but people were tired of it for, like, narrative and roleplay reasons. So he was, like, chatting with a team of other people at the level cap. They basically orchestrated a PvP fight to knock his character down and seal her away so that the rest of the nations could, you know, the people leading different nations could come back and start role-playing in different scenarios. And then after that event happened, he got a message on the MMO, and he was just like, oh, I got, like, a thing from the developers. Yeah, I'll go for this event that you're having me sign up for. And then gets isekai'd into his OC.
Excellent.
And she is this fallen angel type that is, like, ridiculously powerful. She needed 7 people to take her down. That kind of, like, end boss kind of thing.
Yeah.
She gets summoned in, and she's just like, well, I'm here now. I don't know what to do. I'm gonna go back to my home base. And eventually she goes back to her home base, finds a girl named Dina, who was like a background NPC that he put into the game when he was building the base. And they basically have taken the first couple episodes because it started airing a week ahead of time, so I've watched 2 episodes, but they're basically going through, like, the sort of things that I like with, like, Log Horizon, where they have to deal with, you know, how do you unabstract game concepts?
Yeah.
Like, there's orcs, which are very popular to farm because they have, like, a 3% drop rate for an item that boosts your max HP. So, like, new players would go early, and they wouldn't be terribly hard, but you could get this item that gives you buffs. The explanation they have for this is orcs fight a lot, and so sometimes the tenderloins tear while they're fighting each other, and that's why only 3% of them drop this item. And it's really just, like, little things like that. And I'm really interested to see where it goes. the main character, got transed by the Isekai and is hanging out with Dina, this girl who is just kind of trying to cover for him. Really a disaster in doing so. It's a lot of fun, but I don't know if it's going to be super interesting week to week.
Yeah.
So I will probably also not be talking about it terribly much unless something crazy happens, which, it could. The entirety of the light novel is out and translated into English, so I might put that on my reading list at some point.
Okay, let's talk about A Star Brighter Than the Sun. So this is one of two classic high school rom-com format type shows that we're watching this season that are just getting right into it and not fucking around.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this one does it really deftly because it starts with these two characters who've known each other for ages and they're at the end of middle school.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's going through their final sports day and graduation and then starting high school. And it's already got through the girl, Sae, realizing she's in love with the boy. And clearly also he has a special place in his heart for her that she can't credit yet.
Mm-hmm.
But she's already realized she's in love with him. They've already exchanged numbers because his mom... Well, he said his mom wanted a selfie of the two of them. Whether that was an excuse or not, I don't know. But they took a selfie and then exchanged numbers so that he could send it to her. At sports day in the scavenger hunt, Sae got the scavenger hunt ticket for Someone You Love, and she chickened out of going for Koki, the boy, and just pulled out one of her friends. But then Koki came for her, and the thing about Sae is she's really tall, although Koki is taller. And so she's quite self-conscious about her size, and they got to the hand-in, and Koki hands over the ticket, and the teacher doesn't say what it says, and a bunch of his friends crowd around like, hey, what was Sae to you? And he says, or the teacher says, it says, find someone big, which Sae is heartbroken for, and then Koki reveals that actually what it said was find a cute girl.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow that's not enough for Sae to think that maybe he has a thing for her. But then they get to high school, they manage to get into the same high school, they're in the same class, and on the first day of school, Sae is climbing the stairs, and a girl falls down the stairs and she catches her in a princess carry, and that's when she catches her first sight of him in the school uniform. And look, the girl she caught is absolutely going to be a character, and I am sure that it is not going to be a throuple anime, but my god, it should be.
We have one drum that we really love to bang on. It's fine.
Bang you on it? No. Anyway, the other romantic anime that is really not wasting time is Yano-kun's Ordinary Days, which does feature a very, very cursed boy. It's impossible for somebody to get injured this much and absurd. And I didn't write her name down. What's her name? Kyoko, thank you. Yes. She is clearly a very caring sort of person. She carries a first aid kit all the time because she has two younger siblings that she looks after. And so she's kind of magnetically drawn to this poor unfortunate boy who is injured all the time. And at one point he thanks her and calls her kind. And her face freezes in comedy shock for the entire remainder of the day. She's still in the exact same facial expression when she's turning off the lights to go to sleep that night. And she has a line... What I thought was normal made him say that? And I am looking at you, babe.
I don't know what you mean, dear.
So many kind people and lovely people truly believe that all they are doing is ordinary because somehow you don't understand just how much worse the rest of the world is. But yeah, she's very kind and she's looking after him and it's very sweet, and she's already realised that she's got a crush on him because she's got a very good best friend who holds her feet to the fire about it, which is essential for rom-com success. And he doesn't want anyone getting close to him because he's worried that they'll inherit some of his misfortune or be affected by his misfortune. And we've got 12 episodes to sort that out, and I'm sure it'll be lovely.
It'll be good, yeah. Actually, we don't have an episode count on that one. We'll see.
We'll see. I'm sure they can drag it out because you can just keep injuring the boy.
Poor lad.
He suffers so much. Speaking of suffering so much... We literally just an hour ago watched the first episode of A Mangaka's Weirdly Wonderful Workplace. It turns out that the weird wonderfulness is just Yuri.
Yeah, a little bit.
This girl is so in love with her editor, who is also in love with her. They both have severe RSD. Futami also clearly has anxiety. Each of them has an assistant. Futami, the mangaka's assistant, suffers so much and has to put up with so much bullshit from her. Meanwhile, Asakusa, who is Sato, the editor's assistant, just bullies her about freezing up. It's great. We were just cackling for 25 minutes. It's so much fun. It's so much more energy than we were expecting it to have.
Yeah. Futami has the best faces, and she keeps making them. And it's like I'm watching Miri all over again.
So what I was going to say is, Yutani Yu could grow into this character.
Yeah.
This is Yutani Yu as an early 20-something.
Yeah.
And there's a whole thing about compliments, because... So Futami, every time that she's got work to deliver or needs feedback or advice from her editor, she freezes up out of RSD and anxiety, not being able to reach out. Her editor, Sato, every time that she wants to feed back to Futami, and every time she thinks, oh, I should compliment her about this, she then freezes up thinking about the best way to do it, and then gets distracted because she's very forgetful. Because you can fit so much ADHD in one show. And this episode ended on Futami and Sato are having a meeting to go over some of her storyboards. And Sato is saying, hey, you should try doing this in this panel. And Futami says, please just give me some concrete examples. You're really good at that. And there's a reaction like this is the first time that Futami has complimented Sato. And it's hitting Sato some way. And I am really looking forward to seeing how that develops. And this I think, is going to be this season's See You Tomorrow at the Food Court. In terms of just being like, it comes out on Monday right before we record, and then we're just going to have to absorb it real quick and turn it around.
Yep. This is at least going to be going for 13 episodes, so we're not getting
cut
short. God damn it.
At one point in this episode, Futami did ask, is this what getting cucked feels like?
Yeah.
Let's move on to a manga with a really clumsy title, which is probably best rendered as Inexpressive Kashiwada and Expressive Oota, which is just teasing Master Takagi-san again.
Yep.
Which is great because we loved that show. Like, in the first episode, Inexpressive Kashiwada fully confesses in front of everyone to Expressive Oota, and he just does not believe her. She's adamant, she likes him, she says this repeatedly, she makes it very clear that she doesn't just mean like as a person or as a chew toy. He does not believe her because she's very inexpressive, but that scene does end with a shot of her having the tiniest smile.
It's really
her
cute.
tiny smiles are really good.
Yeah.
And then in the second part of the episode, they are cleaning the pool, and... So the thing is, Expressive Oota is always trying to get Inexpressive Kashiwada to express something. So he threatens her with the hosepipe, which is kind of exactly the provocation that his, not her, friends were looking for to open fire on him with water pistols that they have produced from somewhere. And not only have they brought water pistols for themselves, in an act of colossal betrayal, they have brought one for Kashiwada as well. And... the show makes very clear that Kashiwada is not emotionally stunted. It is just that she is emotionally inexpressive. She's feeling everything. And it's really clever about how it conveys that she is, like, in the moment and in the vibe without her face moving.
My dear wife is saying this. It also just labels her sometimes. She's sad.
It does also just label her sometimes. That's a good bit, and I like it.
Yes. I'm also not surprised you're reacting like that. I love you.
It appeals to my flavour of autism.
I'm aware.
Speaking of appeals to my flavour of autism, Alma-chan Wants to Be a Family, episode 1.
Yeah.
In which we are introduced to maybe the two biggest nerds that we've seen in anything, even including Science Fell in Love, so we tried to prove it, which is an achievement. It opens and it looks like they're in a really like cool, futuristic, high-tech AI lab where they're testing their military robot Moe Blob bot that they've built. And then she comes out of the test and there's a Rube Goldberg sequence of pratfalls. And they're like, why are we doing this in the dark? And they turn the light on and it's just like a room in a flat and there are a whole bunch of trash bags in the corners of the room because that's how nerds live.
Yeah.
But this robot calls them mother and father and persuades them that that is the appropriate roles for them to adopt. And they go, well, maybe it'll be easier for us to surreptitiously test her functioning in public. if we pretend to be a couple and this is our daughter. But we hate each other, and it's only pretense. And Alma hacks City Hall to update the family register to register them as married because she doesn't have a sense of boundaries.
Yeah.
They basically respond by quadcopter parenting her, literally. Like, they send her on her first errand, and they follow her with a quadcopter drone.
Yep.
And shenanigans ensue, and it's great and it's cute. And I think the thing that makes it work is very clearly Enji and Suzume both really like the idea of being a family, and what is going to lead them into whatever romance they experience is going to be
being there for Alma. Primarily.
Being there for Alma, and I think for each other. Like,
yeah.
I get the sense that these are people who did not have particularly loving and happy family environments.
Yeah.
And this is enabling them to fill that hole in their heart. Like, it's early days, but the vibe is really kind of pushing that to me. Mm-hmm. So it might well be more like a found family story than a romance, and I would be here for that.
Yeah.
There is no segue that will get us from that to My Little Sister Has It In For Me, episode 1.
That's not the name of the show. You forgot a very important word.
My friend's little sister has it in for me.
Correct.
Yes, you're right. I'm sorry. This show troubles me, pains me, because Iroha is so reminiscent of my first girlfriend, right down to, like, the way that she, like, tickles and prods at him is basically how I got into that relationship. You know, the first time I held hands with a girl, it was in self-defense. And that happens in this episode in basically the exact same pose. It's a problem.
Yeah, surprise. You thought this was a landmine for me. It was a landmine for you.
You'll get yours. It's very clear that you are also going to get yours with this show.
Shut up. You don't know a goddamn thing.
It is strongly implied that the teacher, you will get yours. Anyway, Aki, the protagonist of this, is, like, he's trying to brown nose his way into a prestigious corporate job as soon as he leaves high school, and he's very, very cynical, and he thinks of himself as a rationalist, so he believes very strongly that there's no way that the manga trope about girls being mean to you because they like you can be true. And unfortunately, bad news, buddy. You're in a rom-com manga. It's true in rom-com manga. And, like, probably a bunch of girls have given him a bunch of shit that is just sincerely giving him shit, because he seems like kind of a shit. But Iroha is clearly just into him. And, like, she shields it in bits at times, but also the moment that she hears anything that might put a pressure on his love life, she shows up at his classroom to make his entire class believe that he's not single.
Yeah.
She's a very effective menace. And then he gets wrapped up into this whole fake dating conceit with the daughter of the executive that he's brown-nosing. And if there's going to be heart in this show, it's going to come from the fact that Mashiro has some sort of baggage that has made it very difficult for her to attend her previous school, and she's transferring into his school. And the reason that her father wants him to fake date her is because he wants her to have a bodyguard to keep other boys from bothering her. Mm-hmm. And if there's heart, it's going to come from Aki getting to grips with whatever Mashiro's baggage is. But if not, it's just going to be shenanigans on shenanigans on shenanigans.
I think you're wrong on both counts, but I've read 9 volumes of this, so I am speaking from further knowledge. We'll get around to it.
You're a menace and a monster, and I resent you taking this unfair advantage over me. Anyway, let's talk about Let's Play.
Let's not.
I think we have to talk about it, because when we were doing the selection show, we were like, oh, we have to watch this. And then we watched an episode, and you remembered that this actually started as an American webtoon, which has somehow become an anime.
With no dub.
With no dub. And the vibe is weird. Like, there's no two ways about it. The vibe is weird. So, it's a 2016 webtoon, or it started in 2016. So in like 2005 to 10, I was doing webcomics during the heyday of everybody can make a webcomic, and lots of people do, and lots of us were very not good at art. And this looks like it derives from a webcomic from that period. In particular, there was like one tutorial for how to draw manga, like how to draw kind of manga-style faces, that nearly everyone seemed to use if they wanted to do that. And I'm not faulting any of those people, but the main character in this show has exactly the eyes from that tutorial in a way that was quite uncanny for me, having read a bunch of webcomics that look like this. Except that it's 10 years down the line historically from that. And so the story is clearly a kind of otome game thing. There's a boy who works at the coffee shop that she frequents who likes her and tries to get her to go to a movie with him, but it's raid night. And then her line manager clearly has a thing for her, but is also really creepy and overbearing because he's clearly going to be the yandere route. And then there's, like, we don't really meet the streamer character who's core to the conceit, where she's an independent game developer, and this streamer streams her game and badmouths it because he doesn't understand it, and then turns out to be living next door to her. Mm-hmm. Which, that's a fun premise. It barely shows up in the first episode. And, like, it has, particularly thinking about it as a 2016 to 2020 webtoon, it has Hillary stan energy.
Yeah.
It feels like girl power, girl boss, but also 50 Shades of Grey kind of stuff. And then also it turns out that where she works, her dad is the CEO.
Yep.
So she's also a Nepo baby. But her dad is great. I really like her dad. Her dad is very, very funny. He has a giant painting of his wife, her mom, in his office. And the scene where she goes into his office to talk to him kind of starts with the suggestion that the mom must be dead. Because it's kind of framed like that scene where a father who has a difficult relationship with his daughter after the death of the mother is trying to kind of bridge the gap and stuff. But the mother isn't dead, she's just in Florida doing like a photo shoot for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And that was very, very funny to me. But it's not enough to sustain the entire show and its weird energy. So I think we're dropping this one.
Yeah, there's also the thing of like, so the key art, at least on Crunchyroll for the series, it has the three men and also her coworker for some reason. Huh. And her dog. Sam is not in this.
I mean, if she...
I don't know what that says about, like, if she's going to be into her girl coworker, which, cool. I don't think that would save this.
I don't think it would save it either, but it would be consistent with that, like, 2016 energy about kind of girl power, right?
2016 American energy. It's California. You can be a little bi as a treat.
Yeah. It's not just America. Britain was a shit heap in 2016 as well.
Yeah.
That's always true. Anyway, we have more shows that have just started. We'll get to those in a minute. We have 2 ongoing shows. Secrets of the Silent Witch just finished with the 13th episode, which this was a really fun episode.
Yeah, it was really good.
It did ramp up relative to everything else, I think. It starts... So Monika's been summoned to help the other Seven Sage, like, recover this lost magical artifact. This involves her flying. She does not like flying. There's some really, really good, just, like, plain comedy shots of other things happening, and she screams through the sky in the background. She gets into a fight with the artifact, which is sentient and is a yandere, and it's been stolen by a boy, and it's declared the boy to be its one true love, and he's rejected it, and so it's gone mad and is going to destroy the city or whatever. And eventually Monika just uses the same mind-manipulating magic she used earlier in the series to make it chill out, which is, it happens so quickly and there's so much else going on that there wasn't time for it to breathe as a joke, but that's incredibly funny.
Yeah. It's also, like, this is all of her stuff that she's learned from her friends and her experiences at school coming back to be put into play.
Yeah.
Which is a good way to round out the season.
Yeah. And then she links back up with the prince. And they do some festival stuff, but then he takes her to a place that he's like, I think you'll like this place. And he leads her down a shady alley to a used bookstore. And lots of things happen which are actually very emotionally powerful. Because Monika is an orphan and there's a whole bunch of trauma that she has around her father's death because he was burnt at the stake. But what ends up happening is that Prince Felix buys her a book and then buys a bunch of books for himself, which are books of her work as the Silent Witch. He still doesn't know that she's the Silent Witch. He's a big fan of the Silent Witch, and he tells her a lot about how much he's a big fan of the Silent Witch while she is desperately trying to hold it together. But then they need to get a room, so they go to the brothel that he has contacts at and get a room and just sit there reading their new books. And then Monica gets very sleepy and crawls into bed. And I think she is thinking something about how nice it would be to be a cat.
No. What she is thinking is she gets woken up by something that she thinks is her cat Nero.
Right.
And she goes, "Oh, good morning, Nero." And the prince is just like, "Hey, who's Nero?" And then
that's right, and he's got in bed next to her.
Yeah.
And then he calls her his kitten.
Yep.
And that's basically where the show ends.
I'll let him have this one.
Yeah.
This is that line would not fly in a lot of situations. I'll let him have this one because it's funny.
She is kind of kitten-sized.
Yeah. She was a squirrel for most of the night.
That's true. And then there are the continuing horrors of Watari-kun's blank is about to collapse. Now at episode 14, and
we got a new OP and
we
ending.
did get a new
They're
OP.
cute.
They are slightly less harrowing. So, quick correction. Last time out, I said that Satsuki's family lived in Tokyo, and Satsuki dragged Watari to Tokyo with her. Wrong way around. They were in Tokyo. Satsuki, I forget, were they in Sapporo? Somewhere like that? Nagano, thank you. Anyway, Satsuki's family are in Nagano, and that's where they go. And shenanigans. So, Satsuki is being summoned to take over the family inn, basically. That's established early on, and Watari offers to pose as her boyfriend as a barrier to her parents' plans for her, which is a terrible idea in every possible way. But they go in for this meeting with Satsuki's parents, and what emerges is that when Satsuki was young, her parents were incredibly busy trying to get the inn out of the red, so they were pretty neglectful. And they acknowledge that, and they are actually genuinely trying to make amends. They're hopeless at it, but they're trying. And she recognizes that they're trying, but also the way that they tried initially was they wrote to her saying, "Hey, you need to come back to Nagano and to the inn and take over, and also marry your stepbrother," who is also, like, Watari's first name is Naoto, and the stepbrother's name is now something. I forget exactly what. Naozumi. And after becoming separated from Watari when she was a kid, Satsuki spent a lot of effort trying to get Naozumi to be Naoto Watari, and called him, like, Nao 2.0. Satsuki really doesn't want to marry Nao 2.0. She also insists that she's not in love with Watari still. But once the air has been cleared a bit, Satsuki is able to say, "Look, I want some more time to figure myself out. I'm going to go back to Tokyo with Watari." And before they go back to Tokyo, she has a conversation with her brother where he's like, "You're in love with Watari." And she denies it. And then Satsuki and Watari get on the train, and he's like holding her hand to pull her onto the train. And that's the moment that she realizes that she is in love with Watari, which I'm sure will have no consequences whatsoever.
Yep.
And everybody will be completely normal about it. And also, they subtly establish in this episode that the new sword of Damocles hanging over all of this is going to be Satsuki's... The parents that Satsuki's been summoned back to take over the inn from are her adoptive parents. And her biological mother is still out there somewhere, I think in Tokyo?
It's implied that she's hung up on Tokyo because of her mother maybe being there. Yeah.
In addition to Watari. And... she's just going to hang over the rest of this show unless she shows up, and I'm nervous about that.
Yeah, I need to mention the title of the ending, the new ending, which is Shippai Shinai Menhara no Sudatekata, which translates roughly to how to raise a mentally unstable person without making mistakes. So,
Christ.
You know, this show in a nutshell.
Pretty much.
Speaking of nutshells, let's move on to our brief mentions.
Let's try to get through some of these really quickly. So, My Awkward Senpai is a Becky Damage Over Time show because the protagonist is really awkward and wears really good outfits. When it was pointed out to her how awkward she is, somebody recommended that she, like, try buying some books about how to be a good manager, and she bought 9 management advice books and crammed them all in a single night, completely forgetting to buy dinner and ruining her instant noodles. So she's really awkward in a way that gave me a bit Recovery of an MMO Junkie vibes. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah, she has Mori awkwardness I feel you.
So I'm looking forward to that one because Recovery MMO Junkie was good. We watched the first episode of Hands Off Sawaranaide Kotesashi-kun, which is the Ocean Vale porn show for this season.
Which is on Crunchyroll, so, like, I don't know if that's strictly true.
Somehow it's on Crunchyroll. It's wild. But, like, he is a 15-year-old wannabe med student who has, like, magic massage hands that make the massages really erotic. He doesn't seem to be aware of the erotic components of this at all. He just wants to help these girls that he is now managing the boarding house of recover from their athletic injuries because they're all like national standard school athletes. And when he massages them, they come.
Yep.
It sure had a bunch of tits and stuff, but, you know, we'll see where it goes. I think there's room in there for it to develop some heart.
Yeah.
Then we have to talk about Mechanical Marie, episode 1. We're not 100% sure on this score, I don't think, but there is a post going around alleging the use of AI art. It's a plausible allegation.
Yeah, it's plausible enough that, like, there are some bits where it hard cuts from, like, the anime style to, like, weirdly detailed and weirdly framed art that then it, like, transitions back to actual cuts of the anime. And it's like, okay, this is really jarring. At the very least, and given other examples of similar AI art, I can see why people would think it's AI art, and I'm leaning that way myself.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're going to call this one a miss.
Yes. Which is a shame, because it does have some good moments. Like, the male protagonist has really bad vibes, but it actually does a pretty good job of establishing just how fucked up his life has been to produce that, because there's a comedic recurring bit of, like, everything is an assassination attempt against him, and also all his family hate him. And there's a bit where somebody complains about Marie being emotionless and not being smiley enough, and she's pretending to be a robot, and she says, well, I can smile if you want, and she pushes the corners of her mouth up, and it turns into a horrifying face, and then it's displayed censored, which is, again, funny. But you did say you might read the manga.
The manga has been picked up. It's only like 27 chapters long. Most of it is translated by fans, and Yen Press has picked it up officially as of like August. So it'll slowly get pushed out. There are 6 volumes, so it'll be a bit.
Okay.
And this is my block. The Gatherer's Adventure in Isekai is main character is just like a random office worker who sits down to watch some stuff and then goes, this is really fucking boring. I wish I could be doing anything else. And then he gets isekai'd. He has a chat with God, and God's just like, I have been trying to make civilization pop off in this world for a fucking eon, and it's not working. So I'm going to throw a new bit of chaos into the mix, and you're that drop of chaos. So I'm going to give you a bunch of stats. Anything else that you want? And he goes, a cute partner. And then he gets thrown into the world, figures out his skills. Turns out he's a gatherer because, like, that's kind of what God wanted him to work towards. And he's really fucking tall for some reason. This is my takeaway.
Right, this is the really fucking tall one.
Yeah,
right.
This is the one where it's just like, oh, even the town guard is like barely comes up to his chest, kind of tall. So he goes and does some stuff. He goes into the mountains to gather some mithril. Mithril with an S. And he stumbles across like an ancient dragon's lair, and the dragon's just like, hey, can you help me out? I think my child needs some help hatching. Can you give them some mana? So he does. He passes out. He meets like the duality counterpart to God, who is just this hot goth butch, who he is taller than, still, who's just like, yeah, that guy gave you way too many fucking bonuses. I'm gonna trim some of those down. Anyway, you asked for a cute partner. Some trouble will do you good. And he wakes up and the dragon is bonded to him. So now he has a dragon buddy. And that's where episode 1 leaves off.
Jolly good.
Banished court magician aims to be the strongest. Basically, like, the setup for this one is the main character has been trying to be a court magician because he looked up to a guy who taught him magic, and he wanted to change the court's opinion of magicians, you know, to honor his mentor, who also got banished from the court. But he's been stuck working with a really shitty little prince who he's had to be casting support spells on the entire time, so he hasn't had, like, the free action economy to do, you know, all the cool magic stuff. He gets fired, and he's just like, oh, hey, it's my old friend from school. Do you want to go do some dungeon stuff together? And he remembers, oh, right, I'm not guarding that shitty prince. I have people who can take care of themselves. Time to cast, like, giant fire snakes. I have free time now.
Nice.
And that's fun. It's probably going to be fine. And then Hero Without a Class, who even needs skills. Basically, it's set in a fantasy world where every character at like age 10 gets a vision from the goddess that gives them a class, that gives them skills. He instead does not get any class, despite being the child of two like former hero types who had advanced classes, and is just going to do everything through hard work. It's fine. It's not going to be anything to write home about, probably. I'm going to enjoy it, but
Yeah. Okay, so I watched episode 1 of This Monster Wants to Eat Me. When we did the selection stream, we said, so we're watching that right on this show, and then ended up putting Monster Meat into the Becky only category. And then afterwards, you were like, I think I'm going to enjoy Monster Meat more than Monster Wants to Eat Me. And I think that was a good call. So we swapped them around because this has truly exquisite Sad Girl Yuri vibes. But also that does mean that the first episode consisted of a lot of long, basically still shots of a girl staring melancholy at the sea, which is much more my deal than yours. Apart from that, show seems to be exactly what it promised. Like, at the end of the episode, she gets attacked by a sea witch, and the mermaid, off-screen sort of, but you get to see the blood splatter, rips the sea witch to shreds, and then emerges from the water covered in blood. So yeah, I think I'm going to enjoy it. And I just watched episode 1 of SI-VIS, which I think is just too shonen for me. Like, it really didn't have the juice as far as its presentation. So the premise here is it's an idol group. Their performances are also battles against some sort of alien supernatural invaders. The ontology doesn't make any sense at all. The one thing it had that is cool is, and I don't know if there's a term for this, but you know in shows like Don Brothers where there's a part of the fight where they go into a kind of enhanced version of the city and up in the sky is another city upside down? It has that. Except that in this, the inverted city is on the bottom of this giant pillar that is descending towards the real city, and they are fighting to keep it back. And at the end of this episode, the fight goes badly wrong, and this pillar lands on Shibuya, leaving a giant fucking hole, and the entire district of Shibuya falls into the hole, and then there's a like computer gamey edit effect goes over the screen, and the hole vanishes, but Shibuya is just not there anymore.
Wild. Okay.
Which is like, that is juice.
Yeah.
I don't think anything else here has juice. That is juice. Anyway, I think that covers all the new stuff from this week.
I believe so.
Which was a fucking lot. In terms of older stuff, we watched another 3 episodes of season 2 of Ascendance of a Bookworm. All of this is about, like, Mine dealing with the orphanage that she's now inherited charge of within the church. So she goes to the basement of the orphanage, which is where the peasant orphans are kept. And there is a shot that really reminded me of the terrifying shot in Toy Story where Woody and Buzz are in Sid's bedroom and all the mutilated toys kind of come out from the shadows and stuff. It's really effective portrayal of like the horror of institutionally inflicted poverty. And Mine is told that if she wants to do something about it, then she will have to take responsibility for the orphanage. And this really intimidates her. And she struggles with this for a while, but then she's talking to Lutz, and she voices this concern, and Lutz says, look, what's worse, being held responsible for something going wrong with your helping, or letting a bunch of children starve to death? And the really embarrassing thing about white Western wealthy humanity is that our entire political electoral media class is failing this test constantly. And 7-year-old Mine passes it in this show because it's not a hard test. But like, it leans in with what I would describe as disconcerting vigor to the cruelties of medieval society. I don't think it's necessarily wrong about those cruelties, but for a show that looks like this and had the vibe that this show had in the first season, it feels stark. Like, this is some horrible shit, and a lot of this happens in dialogue between Mine and the head priest of the temple, who is clearly on her side and wants her to succeed, but also feels somewhat trapped by his position and is the voice of realism. And it does kind of sometimes feel that he's both siding, and like refusing to fully endorse Mind's desire to create positive change.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also get a dramatic arc for Lutz, Mind's partner, because he's an apprentice merchant, and Benno, his master, is really keen on him, wants to take him on a field trip, basically, as part of his training, and his parents won't let him go, because they don't approve of him being a merchant. And also, they haven't really taken the time to understand how well Lutz is doing for himself.
Yeah.
And it's sort of framed as the family are concerned for Lutz, and they just want to make sure that he's safe and that he prospers. But it does come across as these parents are small-minded fuckheads who can't understand the idea of their child having autonomy.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think this would have landed quite differently last season to this season, because setting it in the context alongside all the stuff that's happening with the orphanage just amps up the tone.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's like, it's not pleasant to watch, but it feels purposeful in a way that I trust, if that makes sense.
It feels like build up to catharsis and not just cruelty for cruelty's sake.
Yes. Quick notes on a couple of things that I watched with Tara. We finished PatLabor, the TV, so we're now watching PatLabor, the new files. We are watching a weird selection of episodes because the new files is kind of weird about order, but we're starting with the kind of climax of the big narrative that runs through the show, which is about this company called Shaft that is trying to... They've developed a really, like, freakishly high-tech mech that is kind of too high-tech to sell. And their pilot for it is a deeply dysfunctional boy who really only cares about piloting the mech and fighting worthy opponents, and is fixated on the main character as like a rival. One of these episodes was called Shaft's Counterattack, as a reference to Char's Counterattack. But like, these 3 episodes are very conventional mech storytelling, and they're good conventional mech storytelling. Like, this is all set up for a duel between 2 like purpose-built combat mechs, which is, you know, that's normally what you see in mecha shows, but in this setting where it's mostly about like power loader type mechs, it feels quite different. And it does it really well, but it also, like, in a way, it feels like it has to do the conventional mech storytelling stuff to establish its bona fides in order to do the, like, slice of life stuff that's its real unique selling point. So even when it's being really good at telling this story about these pilots trying to get to grips with the task that's on them, there is a little bit of an eat your vegetables feel to it. And these episodes aren't as funny as the comedy episodes. But it is prescient. Like, there's been this whole theme running through it of they're trying to develop mechs that have stronger AI assistance for the pilots that makes pilots require less training. And in one of these episodes, this backfires because the AI-assisted police labors flinch when something they were doing would cause collateral damage. And, you know, having sat through the self-driving car kind of hype from a few years ago, it's funny in a very bleak way to imagine that the problem with AI for self-driving police cars would be that it would flinch from causing collateral damage.
Yeah, it's extremely, you sweet summer child. You could not have foreseen how this would work out in reality.
Yeah, and yet the show is right about the deeper point around de-skilling, but it's also, this is a thing that is of its context because, you know, late 80s, early 90s in Japan, there was still a lot of kind of sense that investment in the security state was a waste of money on troublemakers. And one of the recurring complaints against Division 2, which is the main character's division, is that they cause too much collateral damage. Because it turns out when you have mechs running around, they cause a lot of collateral damage.
Yep. You know how, like, this is a thing that I can say because, you know, America and the militarization of police, like, all our roads are not built for, you know, the insane APCs and tanks bullshit that we have given some police forces access to, and it ruins the roads and shit. You know, the roads that are already not doing great, but it turns out we didn't build this fucking nation or like a lot of our cities or infrastructure to be dealing with mechs or heavy weaponry like that.
Especially a dense city like Tokyo.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting, but it's also kind of like, this isn't the juice with PatLabor. It's just very, very good. And then we started watching City the Animation from last season. So Tara asked if I wouldn't mind skipping the first episode because she wanted to see if she could show the show to people without the first episode, which she apparently doesn't like. This did produce a bewildering avalanche of characters, although I'm not sure that wouldn't have happened anyway with episode 1, because fucking hell, there are a lot of characters in this.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, I have not watched Nichijou. I've seen a lot of Nichijou clips, and I know lots of people who love Nichijou, and I'm sure it's great. This is not Nichijou, but it feels like it's going to be very difficult to talk about in depth without having watched Nichijou. So I don't know how much this is going to show up in future episodes. I will say it's real gay. Like, there are 3 girls who are cohabiting in a... I mean, I don't think they're canonically gay, but the vibe is there. And there's a couple of high school girls who have some real good Wada and Yamamoto from Food Court energy.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it has incredible animation style and detail, and every frame kind of seethes with life and fun. But the thing I think it does really well across like a 22-minute episode is it accrues bits and calls back to them. And there's just this mounting pile of nonsense shenanigans in the way that, like, when an actual play show really goes off the rails, when there's a couple of like, imps at the table who are just riffing constantly and building on top of each other's riffs. It feels like that, and it has some just gut-busting comedic timing. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. I don't know how much there's going to be to talk about.
Mm.
And that's that.
Yeah.
There's still some more shows that we haven't started watching yet, that we're waiting to see when they become available. But we did make it through, and it's only been 75 minutes of recording, so...
Yeah, and a decent number of the things that we're talking about are not going to be showing up again. Like,
yeah.
I'm probably not going to bring up any of my Isekai block.
Maybe until the end of the season or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're watching That Writers Project of Slimebug Productions. Intro and outro music is by me, graphics are by Val. You can find us on Blue Sky at slimebug.bsky.socials, YouTube at youtube.com/@slimebugproductions, Patreon at patreon.com/slimebugproductions. Download all episodes from Libsyn at slimebug.pro, and join our Discord via the link in the description. Thanks for listening, and until next time, may anime neither betray nor disappoint you.